I was actually flying to Vizag, and Dr. BV Rao was also there. He said, "Why don't you join me?" I said, "I don't even know you." He said, "No, come, I'll tell you tomorrow. You come to Vizag." I joined them, and now the last 35 years I'm with them. Same with Madam Anuradha Desai. They really treat employees as their family members. As per the nutrition recommendation, you are supposed to eat half a gram of protein every day per kilo of body weight. Egg is the cheapest and the easily digestible protein that is available to man. The world market for export is huge. If in case we produce a little extra quantity also, there is huge requirement in the Middle East where poultry is not coming up. I think in the coming years, the requirement of the consumer will change. Recently during COVID time, every doctor talked about eggs being used because it's a protein. Let me introduce myself, sir. My name is KG Anand. I am a graduate in agriculture science. Then I did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. I passed out in 77. Then I was working with input industry for some time. I was working with Sandoz India Limited. So I worked in input industry for some time. Then I joined the poultry industry in 1988. My induction into poultry was also very, what should I say, theoretical or not theoretical, coincidental. I was actually flying to Vizag, and Dr. BV Rao was also there. And they were in the airport waiting for the flight to come, which was delayed on that day. And casually, he was sitting next to me, we were talking to ourselves, and I told him that I'm working with so-and-so company. And he said, "Why don't you join me?" I said, "I don't even know you." He said, "No, come, I'll tell you tomorrow. You come to Vizag, and we will spend some time." I said, "Okay." I had also time, let me go to Vizag. I went there, and he was conducting a big farmers meeting. And then I knew what he is in terms of how the farmers are attracted towards him. Then I said, "This is what I do. Come and join me in my group. And don't worry about your job content. I'll take care of it." So somehow I blindly believed myself, let me go. And he took me as the chief executive for ADCC. I joined them. And now the last 35 years I'm with them. Same with Madam Anuradha Desai. They really treat employees as their family members. And we have absolutely no hesitation calling them, though he's my boss and she's a lady, but I don't have to think for a second whether I have to call up in the morning 8 o'clock or night 10 o'clock. Anytime we can call. That's a kind of freedom they've given. Complete delegation of authority. That's the reason I think we're all there. We are very happy. And I'm glad to say that poultry and VHL and the employees in VHL are all happy to grow. And we feel there's still sky is the limit. Even in the coming decades, poultry will very much grow in India. 1988, when I joined this company, the per capita availability, I've always spoke about availability, not about consumption, because consumption is what is available. Even today also, it's production-driven industry. Then what was available in the country was hardly 20x. Fortunately, because Dr. BV Rao and others had started VHL, the availability was better with about 60x, but in the country it was only 20x. Now, the availability is about 101x. And the population has grown from those days to now. Now we are almost about 1.4 billion. And in spite of that, our consumption is far less than the nutrition recommendation or the consumption that is available in the neighboring countries. In India, I feel it basically the availability which is the constraint for consumption rather than in terms of demand. We are producing currently about 138 billion eggs. That's the reason our consumption is only about 101 per capita. But if in case we produce more, which we are producing, even today you would have seen Niti Aayog statement that egg industry is a classical example. Today it has come in the paper. That classical example how farmers can grow without any support from government. In fact, he was talking about the MSP and implication of MSP, and in that context he was saying there are a lot of industries, instead of going for rice and wheat, go for horticulture, go for eggs, and in that he quoted the example. Egg is a classical example thanks to Dr. BV Rao, the founder and the visionary of the poultry industry. He visualized that egg industry or the protein requirement for the country is huge, because if you look at Indians, we have a stunted growth, the malnutrition is very high. In the villages, if you look at the mortality rates are very high, you will see the belly with the children and not eating enough protein. As per the nutrition recommendation, you are supposed to eat half a gram of protein every day per kilo of body weight. For instance, if you are about 60 kilos, you have to eat at least minimum of 30 grams. That is the minimum requirement. But where is availability? If you look at availability of the other sources other than poultry, in terms of milk or in terms of dal or in terms of any other source, it's hardly available. Mutton, everything is very costly. People cannot afford it. In fact, we were having severe shortage even milk. Only now we are becoming self-sufficient. If you look at the affordability part of it, egg is the cheapest and the easily digestible protein that is available to man. if you rate it in terms of availability, is almost about golden standard for protein. Any other product, if you take it, it's only about 70% or 60% available. Mutton, if you take it, it's likely to cause a lot of other issues. But chicken, which is the lean meat, and eggs, which are the most ideal form of protein consumption for improving the health. That is the reason Government of India is also recognizing this, has recommended for use of eggs in their midday program, which is currently being given in some states, but still this sky is the limit. Even today, with 101 per capita, we are about 80 short of our nutrition recommendation. Nutrition recommendation is about 180 eggs one should eat per year. We are only 101. But if you look at our neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, which are supposed to be much poorer than us, they are consuming much more than us. They are almost about 140, 150 per capita. It means even it's not the question of money. People probably will think that no, our poor country, where can we afford? That is not true. It's only the availability which, if in case we improve, automatically the consumption. So I feel, as of today, the growth is supposed to be 6.77% as per Government of India figures. Even for the coming 10 or 20 years, poultry will grow. And till today, we are producing only for domestic consumption. The world market for export is huge. If in case we produce a little extra quantity also, there is huge requirement in the Middle East where poultry is not coming up. There is a huge requirement in African countries where land is available but poultry is not there. There is a huge requirement in Europe because agriculture there is going in the negative growth, or even in terms of Japan where there is no land mass. So India and China are the only two countries which can grow, and China is more going towards a manufacturing hub base. India is basically agriculture, predominantly agriculture country. Poultry is very ideal, and even in the coming decades, poultry will grow in leaps and bounds for many, many decades to come. Let's divide this poultry industry into two segments. One is the egg layer side, second is the broiler meat side. If you look at the egg layer side, it is basically individual farming oriented. There, the corporates and others have not come into or not able to come to. It is the individual who has to do it because he has to have a feed mill, he has to have a brooding shed, he has to have a growing shed, and a capacity ranging between 20,000 to 1 lakh is doing it. And even in the coming decades also, it will still remain the individual oriented only, because there the opportunity is there for the farmer to use the local ingredients, whether wheat, rice, maize, anything that is available locally, he can do it. And if you look at states where currently poultry is not there, I'm talking about the egg laying, where the growth is happening, for instance, Orissa, Bengal, UP, Bihar, Northeast, all these states are growing in leaps and bounds for egg laying, growth of 20%. In fact, I'll give you my presentation recently I have done. These states are growing at 20%. May the states, it's not growing at that high percentage, is states like AP, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, where already it has come to certain statutory level, where the per capita is already about 300 plus. But if in case one wants to start in these states where there is already a shortage, government is giving full support and poultry is coming up, and I think future in India, these are the states which will grow. In fact, Bihar has not yet caught up. Once Bihar comes in, because there the consumption is huge, because mostly the non-vegetarian population is there. I think the growth of egg industry will come in these states, and you will have a percentage, comfortable, healthy percentage of somewhere 7% plus for the India. We'll again divide this into eggs and chicken. If you look at the eggs part of it, from the farmer it goes to a wholesaler, or what we call it as egg trader, who in turn sells to a semi-wholesaler, if you are talking about within the limited area. Then in turn it goes to the shop. I wouldn't say the problem. The situation in India is that most of the consumption of the eggs is on the day of consumption, because people don't really stock eggs like in Europe or US. You keep milk in your fridge, you keep eggs for maybe about 15-20 days, you keep bread also. For us, the Indian concept is fresh. You want to, on the day of consumption, you want to purchase, whether it is chicken, whether it is eggs, whether it is milk, whether it is newspaper, whether it is vegetables, you don't want to keep it for 1 week, 10 days. You feel something it is stale. Because of our purchasing habit of purchasing on the day of consumption, you have to make it available locally there. For instance, if I go to US, I go to the supermarket, pick up for about 1 week. I don't go on a daily basis. India, even pastime for the housewife is to go to the vegetable market and purchase. They have to meet, because it's a kind of a friendly acquaintance. He goes to the shop, inquires about his family, inquires about his welfare, picks up whatever she wants to come, and that's how the culture has been over the many, many years. Especially for bread, eggs, milk, we have to purchase in the day of consumption. Because of this daily consumption, you have to make available eggs in small quantities near your home. So it means the Pandaba wala, the Kirana wala will keep this 100 eggs on this one and start disposing of. When your quantity of sale is so low, obviously for him, it is, you cannot make big margins out of it. he keeps only the margins very thin. When you have 100 eggs being sold and you have 3-4 chain line like wholesaler, semi-wholesaler, retailer, naturally the spread between the product producer to the consumer will be little on the higher side. But fortunately, because Dr. BV Rao visualized all this and ensured that consumer rupee 70 to 65% comes to the producer, still it is very healthy. But if you look at outside countries, there is an egg packing station where the packet and dozen or 30 eggs and keep it there, where the consumer pays a high rate, the farmer gets only 35%. But the issue here is that the farmer, even if he is getting 65% or 70%, he is not getting a very healthy price for him to keep it profitable. You asked me earlier question, is a farmer viable? This is where I think the change has to come in the coming years, because consumer is happily willing to pay a higher price. Today, if in case we are able to spend for tea 20 rupees, for a idli or dosa about 40-50 rupees, what's the problem in spending about 10 rupees for the egg? It's not the consumer the problem. The problem is the retail chain is unable to pass this to the consumer because there is no value addition over there. I think in the coming years, the requirement of the consumer will change. He will not purchase egg as egg. He will look at egg as a quality egg. Maybe he will ask in terms of the color of yolk, maybe he will ask in terms of omega-3, maybe he will ask in terms of some value addition of the egg. So that, for instance, you would like to have some organic egg. Maybe you would like to have omega-3. I mean, something which is added to that so that your health is improved. So once that demand starts coming in, surely I think the consumer rates also will improve. The producer also will find it better to continue the farming operation. Today the problem is that though the consumer is paying low rate, the consumer is not looking at egg as a source of quality protein. He is just purchasing for convenience food. We have to change that concept of convenience food to a quality protein. That can come like, for instance, McDonald's. They are talking about cereals being given a separate stature. Similarly, egg has to come as a omega-3 eggs for health consciousness. Recently during COVID time, every doctor talked about eggs being used because it's a protein. So now I think that new concept has to be, when you talked about promoting eggs, we have to promote this as a concept that omega-3 eggs are there, organic eggs are there, selenium eggs are there. Like that, if we promote, people like you and me will start eating more and more eggs, and eggs because they are quality protein rather than just protein.